Are you even listening to me?
Drew Goddard and Joss Whedon, phenomenal screenwriters who, as can be seen in The Cabin in the Woods, know story inside and out. So much so that they're able to play with what would be considered trite or tropish characters and build upon that to create a satire that works so well. At times you lose the sense that these are meant to be stereotypes.
Sign says closed.
Cleanse the world of their ignorance and sin. Bathe them in the crimson of... Am I on speakerphone?
There is self-reflective knowledge to their characters, and while tired characters is often the mark of a novice screenwriter, what Joss and Drew have done is use this element as a form of mastery. They've used these stereotypes as a tool in their toolbox, and in my opinion, executed it remarkably.
You celebrating?
They're celebrating. I'm drinking.
In fact, they made stereotypes and audience expectations central to the film itself, and anytime the characters tried to break from their expectations, well, the odds were stacked against them. It's the organization's refusal to acknowledge that they're more than stereotypes that ultimately leads to their demise and the demise of the world. If the organization had been paying attention, well, they would have seen things like this.
Physical fact, cops will never pull over a man with a huge bong in his car. Why? They fear this man. They know he sees farther than they, and he will bind them with ancient logics.
But she's still alive.
How can the ritual be complete?
There is one point where the organization nearly recognizes the existentialism of the characters.
It's so strange. I'm actually rooting for this girl. She's got so much heart. And you think of all the pain and the... Tequila is my lady!
I'm not trying to point out something that isn't there, but if this is all an allegory for you, the audience member, then best to pay attention so you don't end up like this. If all of this is to say that satire is a subversion of what are stereotypes and tropes of movies, then I want to take a look at this first scene that Joss and Drew set up so perfectly. From the moment we're introduced to Dana, we, as the audience, begin checking boxes, filling in the information that isn't given to us. The thing about story is it's a connection of points, and the inferences are filled in by us, the audience member. And so what Joss and Drew do here is interesting. They take these stereotypes and flip them on their head. They give us one thing, and then by the end of this scene, we understand something totally different. If we go back to the beginning right about here, our introduction to Dana is her putting her books into her book bag. And if you see here with Jules, we begin to see a pattern emerge with character introductions.
Oh my god, your hair, it's blonde.
Very fabulous, no?
I can't believe you did it.
But very fabulous, right? Hurry up with the very fabulous. I'm getting insecure about it now.
God.
From the obvious blonde hair being thrown in our face, the way her confidence quickly wanes reinforces Jules' importance on beauty, on her vanity.
Read economic structures?
And this pattern holds up across each of the main characters. Whether that's Kurt being an airheaded jock, throwing a football at us, the audience, or him telling us that Holden just transferred from state, aka the scholar, or Marty ripping a telescoping bomb through an intersection. These stereotypes aren't just presented, they're flagrant, they're made to be obvious.
The wind must have blown it open.
That makes what kind of sense?
Each one intended to conform and compartmentalize into single-word definitions. Not even metaphorically, their blood is literally pumped into their characterization. Yet, as soon as we start to accept that we're in for another thinly plotted 90 minutes of jump scares and corny characters, Drew and Joss unravel the notions they've deftly put into place. Dana, a girl who packs economics books on a camping trip, is sleeping with her professor, and it's Jules who's the one to point out the morality of it.
Ugh, Professor Fuckwad.
while we're burning this picture.
Oh, I'm not ready. Seriously, this isn't his fault.
What's not his fault? Fucking his student or breaking up with her by email?
Now, take this joke into consideration.
Kind of seeing this girl, but you're way blonder than she is. But I was thinking, maybe. What is this? What are these? What are you doing with these?
Okay, I get it. I'll leave the
No.
books.
Who gave you these? Who taught you about these?
Learned it from you, okay? I learned it from watching you!
They, as characters, are more self-aware than the organization gives them credit for. And if we look at how this scene ends...
Okay, seriously, Professor Bennett, it covers this whole book and his lectures. You should read this. Gorofsky. Now, this is way more interesting. Also, Bennett doesn't know it by heart, so he'll think you're insightful. And you have no pants.
Oh!
With the jock character now giving advice to the bookworm, and her not even being present enough to realize she's not wearing pants, it's a complete subversion of what our expectations were going into the scene. There's a subtle brilliance to this execution, where most parodies and satires take stereotypes and amplify them. The Cabin in the Woods runs counter to this notion. And although this is the first scene, this idea of free will carries on throughout the film. In fact, it's the times in which they act in line with these original characterizations that they fall into the trap that has been laid out for them. And we, the audience, are ahead of them the entire time. We have the same knowledge as the organization, and that makes us a willing participant in wanting to see if they succumb or overcome their stereotypes. If there's something to take away from this, it's the importance that each scene carries in creating the entire film. It's the ability to craft a thought-provoking beginning, middle, and end centered around the movie's theme, not just on a macro level, but in each scene as well. Hey everyone, I want to say thank you so much for watching. If you have any thoughts, feel free to comment below, and if you have a film that you'd like to see us dive into, let us know.